All right, everybody. It is the end of day one of cycle 2 of last Epoch. And I'm just going to walk through my build really quick and talk about where we're at. So, as you can see, I'm level 88. If we take a look at the leaderboard, normal level 185. So, I'm pretty high level-ish, but not in the upper echelon. Those guys are all crazy. All these 96s, that's like significantly more EXP than me, right? And most of the people that are playing these kind of builds, at least in the Sentinel side of the world, are playing like either like a throwing version of like Hammer's Paladin or something, or a lot of people are playing Void Knight. I think I saw like one Forge card, but I don't, and I saw a couple Judgment players too, but I didn't see anyone doing what I'm doing. So I guess it's not fast, which is fair, but it's super fun. It does a lot of single target, and I think it's worth playing. So the build. So we're using multi-strike. This node, Bladestorm, got changed so that now when you create more additional swords than there are enemies, the remaining swords can consume mana to strike the nearest enemy. So you can use 3 mana to hit the same enemy with your additional blades, which is important because we're turning our swords into smites. So we have 3 additional blades because we have +1 to perfect steel. 3 additional blades means that we have 3 smites per auto at like, I don't know what our attack speed is off the top of my head, but 1.16 is pretty decent of a rate. And then 21% increased over here. So I would say we're at least at 2 per second. All right, with the 15% over here, we're at least at 2 per second, 2 autos per second. So that means we have 6 smites, and our smite is spec'd for damage. It's a fire smite. We're doing 5 points on hit damage versus ignited, and then 5 points onto sacrifice to take some of our current health and put it into damage. And then 3 points into atonement, so we sacrifice less. And then our last 2 points are in conviction for that extra base crit chance. So that's our smite. So we're using multi-strike to cast smite as well as healing hands. So 4 points into cleric's hammer to cast healing hands on melee hit, searing light to turn it into a hit, seraph blade to turn it into a melee hit, and then virtue of patience for a little bit more damage, cleric's wrath for a little bit more damage, Bane of Evil for a little bit more damage, Halted Scourge for a little bit more damage, and Turn Undead for a little bit more damage. And then finally we have Purity of Thought and Blessed Perish for a little bit of mana sustain, because we are a very mana hungry build. So Healing Hands costs 11 mana per cast. And then Multi-Strike, when you're hitting the same target, it costs 9 mana per cast. And then Smite per smite cast is 3, considering there's 6 a second. 6 times 3 is 18. So there's a lot of mana going on here, right? Which is why we're reducing the mana from Healing Hands over here. And then we are taking some other precautionary measures. Okay, so we have Symbols of Hope, which spawns a symbol every 2 seconds? Yeah, 2 seconds. And then we're making those symbols give us block chance. We're making them give us +1 to maximum symbols. We're making them give us more damage, some base fire damage, and some crit. So that's what our symbols are doing. Pretty decent overall. I will say there are things that I would like to take, like, where is it? I don't know anymore. Ooh. Symbol of Hope gain rate. Maybe that's what I want. I don't know. But Holy Aura. So we're going into Flame Burst because we do 4 melee hits per second, and each melee hit gives us 2 stacks. So we get 8 stacks. So which means we pretty much proc Flame Burst every second. Right? We proc it twice in 2 seconds, which is close enough. And Flame Burst is just an additional hit. I think it does okay damage. If I find that my damage is fine and I need more defenses, I'll probably pull all the points out of here. So that's 6, 7 points out of here. and then move them into the ward regen and ward retention space when I go towards the ward-based defenses later on. So that's also an opportunity. Also, we have global increased fire damage, so pretty decent, and then 1 point into increased crit chance, and then some attack speed. So those are the skills of the build. Let's take a look at the passives. Looking at our gear, we have a Falcon Fist. This was one of the hardest pieces of gear for me to get. Not the Falcon Fist itself, but the tier 6 melee attack speed gloves. I went through a lot of pairs of gloves just trying to like get something. Health regen was kind of interesting. But I needed damage, so I was looking for melee attack speed. I couldn't find melee attack speed for my Polaris' Sacred Light, but I did find a tier 6 crit multi, which is pretty decent, so I went with it. 35% chance to cast Smite on melee hit is not crazy. We do 4 melee hits per second, so we should get, 1.5, hopefully, should be our average. So 1 or 2 smites, which means instead of 6, we're casting 7 or 8 smites. Very handy. Foot of the Mountain. Why are we running this? Because we had mana problems. So getting Mountain's Endurance reduces our mana cost of our spells by 2 for each stack, and we can have up to 3 stacks. So this pretty much makes us have infinite mana, which is nice. Plus 10 to alter attributes is also very nice because we care about both strength and attunement. So 2 attributes that we care about, and we will eventually care about intelligence when we have some word generation. So this is a good pair of boots. Tier 6 increased move speed is nice because it's a pretty slow pair of boots otherwise. So I put that on there over strength or attunement, even though I had tier 6s of both laying around. Okay, I found a tier 7 strength pretty early on, so I'm running it. It's not a good base. This is eventually going to be replaced by Vessel, and then I can put the tier 7 strength on there, or I could turn it into attunement, whatever I end up needing at the time. The strength gives me armor as well, so I like it. Attuned Silver Ring of Deflection. So I needed tier 6 attunement. I needed some stats. There you go. Attuned Silver Ring of Endurance. Literally, I don't know how I got the same base. I don't know how I got low rolls on attunement for both. But once again, I just needed stats. So here is the rest of my resist and endurance and the attunement that I want. Okay, this belt, I just found a tier 7 health belt. And so I ran it. I got some fire res on there. It was kind of nice. I was running the Smite belt before, but the defensive layer is kind of nice. So there you go. This is a good Sentinel body armor. I think it'll be hard for me to find a better one for a little while because it has a lot of armor. It increases fire damage. It's a low roll, yes, but it's still an increase to fire damage. And then, wow, that's multiple low rolls on like every part of this. Let's see if I can change that. 28, 245. Okay, it's good enough. It's a buff, right? Okay, and then for our amulet, I had flat health. Wow, that's a low roll again. Let's see if I can fix that. Oh, I don't have foraging potential. Can't do it. Okay. I had base health on there. I got health regen per second, which is nice. I also put some fire on there. Couldn't get rid of the poison pen. Ran out of foraging potential. This is okay. I don't know what I want on here, to be honest. Maybe a nihilist or something. So that way I can free up more slots to run other things and get rid of like a lot of my resistances on my rings. There are a lot of valuable things I could run in this slot. I will say, however, one thing is I could have crit multi on here. This doesn't even need to be a unique or a legendary. This could just be crit multi. Peak of the Mountain. So this is how we're getting our crits. It's a lot of increased critical strike chance. +5 to all attributes is good. Tier 6 attunements is good. I'll probably run this belt or this helmet for a long time until I get a 2 LP with like either tier 7 attunement and tier 5 strength or tier 6 of both. Because those are the only stats we care about. Polaris' Sacred Light, I think I've talked about it. Okay, I've probably talked about everything here. Blessings. So I was working on blessings today. It took me a long time. I got the all res finally. I wanted increased fire here, but I got armor instead. I tried like 2 or 3 times and I couldn't get it. And then I got block chance on the Herat one. I would like this to be armor, honestly, because once I swap, it won't matter that much. And I would like this instead of mana. I would like it to be ward per second or ward decay threshold or something like that. If I go back to running the Smite belt and I need to play a lot of potions, there is something with like ward granted on potion use and ward decay, so that could also be useful. And then I'm running the like basic monolith increased experience, the very lowest rate. I should probably run this again and get it to a higher rate, but I haven't finished my Harbingers, so there you go.